Welcome to Spurs Focus, your go-to spot for daily Tottenham news, transfers, and match updates. Don't forget to support the channel by hitting that subscribe button now. Let's dive into today's top story. Mickey van de Ven blasts his Tottenham teammates after their 2-1 loss to Aston Villa. He says Spurs didn't do enough in attack and sends a clear message before the Champions League clash with Monaco. Mickey van de Ven has criticised his Tottenham teammates and believes that the attacking players should have created more chances during Sunday's 2-1 defeat against Aston Villa. Thomas Frank's side made the perfect start at the Tottenham Hotspur stadium, however. Rodrigo Bentancur put Spurs ahead in the 5th minute, slotting the ball home after Van de Ven headed across the box. Although Tottenham created chances to double their lead, Villa equalised 8 minutes before the break. Morgan Rogers was the man that scored it, as he fired the ball beyond Guglielmo Vicario from the edge of the area. Villa went on to win it in the second half, with substitute Emiliano Buendia coming on and scoring in the 77th minute. The Argentine dribbled inside before curling an inch-perfect shot past Vicario and into the corner. Spurs may have had more shots on target, and clear-cut chances, but Van de Ven felt his side could have done much more to get at least a point, if not 3, from the game. Speaking to Sky Sports post-match, Van de Ven said, "I don't think we did enough. If we'd done enough, we wouldn't have lost this game. I don't think we gave too much away. They scored 2 goals from outside the box. But I think we can also create more for ourselves. We always give 100% to the fans and the club and everyone." Tottenham suffered a major injury blow moments before the game as Christian Romero pulled up in the warm-up and was forced to withdraw from the 11, with Kevin Danso taking his place. "We knew he was a doubt during the week already," Van de Ven said on Romero. "But of course it's always bad when he pulls out in the warm-up. But I think Kevin Danso came in and did really well." Adding on Romero's condition, Frank said in his post-match press conference, "Minor abductor injury. He felt a little bit the past few days. We expected him to be fine, but he wasn't. I don't think it is too big. There were 2 big teams on the pitch," he added, reflecting on the result. "We started very well. Villa produced 2 goals out of nothing, and we had 4 or 5 moments where we couldn't produce. If you told me before the game that these players will be shooting from these positions, I'd have said, happy days." Tottenham suffered a 2-1 defeat by Aston Villa in the Premier League on Sunday afternoon. Rodrigo Bentancur gave Spurs an early lead by a Morgan Rogers thunderbolt, and Emiliano Buendia's late winner helped Villa to a comeback win in North London. Spurs are now 6th in the league, but just 1 point behind 4th-placed Bournemouth. Next up is a crunch Champions League clash with Monaco.football. London will bring you updates from Thomas Frank's post-match press conference, with the manager expected to react to the defeat, as well as offer an update on Christian Romero. The Spurs captain was due to start the match, but pulled out just 20 minutes before kick-off. Aston Villa fought back from a goal behind to snatch all 3 points from Tottenham on a rainy afternoon in North London. Rodrigo Bentancur had blasted Thomas Frank's side ahead after just 5 minutes when he raced onto João Palhinha's headed knockback before applying a confident finish. Spurs thought they had grabbed a second goal when Mohamed Kudus burst in behind the Aston Villa backline before driving the ball under Emiliano Martinez, but the strike was chalked off correctly due to offside. The visitors then drew themselves level when Rogers, who was linked with a big money transfer to Spurs in August, collected the ball and looped a dipping long-range strike that flew past Guglielmo Vicario. Substitute Emi Buendia then won the game for Villa with a curling strike that left Vicario rooted to the spot. Football London is on hand to provide you with player ratings as Tottenham dropped points for the 3rd consecutive Premier League home match. Thomas Frank sends a clear message at Tottenham. He's still the boss. Even after Fabio Paratici's return and a £100 million cash boost, Frank insists he'll have the final say on transfers. Thomas Frank insists he's top dog at Tottenham, despite a major off-field shake-up. This week, the returning Fabio Paratici was unveiled as the club's new joint sporting director, alongside Johan Lange. However, Frank has made it clear he'll still need to ratify all major transfer decisions moving forward, explaining ahead of tomorrow's clash with Aston Villa. "I'll always have the final say. You know that, but of course, in the end, it's teamwork. it's highly likely there will be plenty of international deliberation over new signings after the Lewis family injected an initial £100 million in new capital into Spurs earlier this month. More cash could yet follow too. Unsurprisingly, Frank values the reiteration of their long-term commitment to a club that is striving to fulfill its potential as a global force. The Dane added, "First and foremost, I think it's hugely positive that the Lewis family is clearly showing their interest in doing everything they can to improve the club and back the club, as they want us to be as successful as possible. I think that's a sign of it, that they are injecting cash into the club," Frank added when quizzed on Paratici's checkered past. "I think it's something, of course, I've heard about. I don't know too much about the details, but I know Fabio is a good guy from the times I've met him. I think he's got a lot of quality, and I look forward to working with him." On the field, Frank is bidding to end a managerial hoodoo for the second successive match this weekend. Prior to the international break, he beat Daniel Farke for the first time in 6 meetings. In 5 attempts, Frank has never beaten Unai Emery's Villa. 2 draws, 3 defeats. It's the most the Dane has ever faced an opposition manager without victory. The Spurs boss has also won just one of his previous 8 top-flight games against the Villains, his joint lowest win percentage against any Premier League side, 12.5%. His ranks will, however, be bolstered by the return of France international forward Randal Kolo Muani following a dead leg. The Paris Saint-Germain loanee has played just 13 minutes since arriving in N17, but he is now back in training. Frank explained, "Kolo Muani has trained now for 2 weeks with the team, so that's good. He looks better and better. He'll be in contention for the squad, so that's positive. I think Kolo is a very good player, and I'm very excited that we managed to sign him. I'm really looking forward to having him play some consistent minutes, and hopefully he'll show what he's capable of." The clash comes too soon for Dominic Solanke, who is back out on the grass in light training following a minor surgical procedure on his ankle. Frank said of Solanke, "Dom is a naturally fit player. We need to take into consideration that he hasn't trained with the team since July. It will take him a little bit of time to get up to pace." Tottenham's young keeper Antonin Kinksey faces a major setback. After a bright start, reports say his form has dropped, raising alarm bells at Spurs. What's next for the 22-year-old talent? Antonin Kinksey has reportedly regressed in his progression, which has raised alarms for Tottenham Hotspur's coaching staff. The 22-year-old Czech shot stopper has made just 1 appearance this season, coming in the Carabao Cup, as he has been forced to sit behind Guglielmo Vicario. Kinksey was afforded a place in the starting 11 last season under Ange Postecoglou after the Italian goalkeeper suffered a long-term injury. The successor made a string of impressive performances, including his debut in the Carabao Cup semi-final win over Liverpool. However, BBC Sport's Sami Mokbel has claimed that there has been a drop-off in performances from the youngster. The Czech talent is 7 years Vicario's junior and is likely to be viewed as a goalkeeper for the future in North London. Vicario is said to have come in for criticism this season, despite a positive start under Thomas Frank, with some question marks surrounding the goalkeeper's capability to command his area. The shot stopper was at fault for the goal against Leeds United, where Spurs managed to claim victory to move into 3rd. It has led to reports of possible movement in the January window for an alternative option between the sticks. But Mokbel, in a question and answer on the BBC Sport website, has moved to dispel claims of targets in the forthcoming January window. However, in rubbishing reports of additions in goal at the turn of the year, he revealed a worrying sign regarding Kinski's development after the 22-year-old's performance levels diminishing of late. "It don't believe a new goalkeeper will be a priority for Tottenham anytime soon," he said. With regards to Kinksey, he made a very promising start to life at Spurs when he arrived in January. He played regularly under then-manager Ange Postecoglou because Vicario was a long-term injury absentee. But I've been told that his performances dropped off, even in training once Vicario moved closer to fitness. That certainly raised an alarm for the previous coaching team. In January, after his debut heroics against Arne Slot's side, then Spurs manager Postecoglou said, "We sensed his confidence when we first spoke to him. This is a big occasion for a young lad, and he handled himself outstandingly." Tottenham star Dominic Solanke finally breaks silence after ankle surgery. The striker shares a powerful message of positivity as he continues recovery Could a comeback be near? Tottenham striker Dominic Solanke has sent a new message after being troubled by an ankle problem since pre-season that eventually required surgery to resolve the issue. Solanke made several brief appearances in competitive fixtures before being sidelined for the clash against his former side, Bournemouth, in late August. He hasn't played since the 2-0 victory over Manchester City almost 8 weeks ago. When questioned about Solanke's condition, Frank provided encouraging updates initially, but that optimism ended last month when perhaps the worst-case scenario was revealed. Dom, we know, got that ankle issue that's been bothering him for a little while, he said. Decided to have minor surgery, small procedure, more news about timeframe after the international break. That date has now come, with Frank anticipated to give a more precise return schedule in his press conference later today. Richarlison and Mathys Tel have split striking responsibilities in his absence, with the latter netting his first goal of the campaign in the 2-1 victory over Leeds United. Summer acquisition Randall Kolo Muani has been unavailable for a comparable period to Solanke, though Frank received a significant boost when he managed to feature for 45 minutes in a behind-closed-doors friendly last week. Whilst all three previously mentioned players can and have operated as the main striker, Solanke is arguably Spurs' favoured choice, and consequently, fans are likely keen for his comeback. The 28-year-old has now provided some insight into what he has been up to as part of a social media message on Thursday. Alongside an Instagram post featuring several contrasting images, he wrote, "Positivity through the dark times." He's been keeping himself busy in recent months, with photographs showing him visiting the United States, training at Hotspur Way, and attending a Coldplay concert with James Madison. The latter is also currently sidelined after rupturing his ACL during pre-season. Dejan Kulusevski, Radu Dragusin, and Kota Takai have similarly been absent for extended periods through injury, whilst Ben Davies and Yves Bissouma have presented Frank with additional fitness concerns ahead of Sunday's Premier League fixture against Aston Villa. Davies hobbled off during Wales's loss to Belgium, whilst Bissouma was carried off on a stretcher with what appeared to be a serious ankle problem just moments after entering the pitch for Mali.